Welcome to the Amateur Redneck Workshop. I'm Harold. This is part 2 of making a homemade extruder to recycle HDPE. So if you didn't see part 1, we'll go back and take a look at part 1 and then come on into this section here and we'll get right on after it, okay? Let's go right straight to the video. This was a lawn chair. It's been retired and got all the pieces laying around. And I'm gonna cut it down into lengths that'll fit in my crucible, and it's gonna be part of the next casting video, which will come up within, pretty sure, next month, something like that. The next order of business is to drill a hole in here that this guy can just sort of set in a little bit. Now this is just about the size of the inside of this tube here. In fact, it does. It slips in it. You'll see there. So that's about the right size hole saw to get this thing started. What that's going to be is this is going to be a platform for the little piston and springs for my extruder to set on. Now I'm going to be right back just as soon as I get through setting the speed slower. Alright, now let's give her another try here. I think it won't wobble around so bad. Just a minute, I gotta get my scrap bucket. All those lawn chair pieces came close to filling up my scrap bucket, but not entirely, so we still got some left. Alright. Let's go at it again. I was just watching Keith Rucker this morning. He had a nice big angular cutter that he was making a hole with. But I don't own any of those. They look pretty neat. I think we're getting close to a breakthrough. Yeah, there's a little piece bobbing around in there. I think that's it. I was using that because I thought it would be faster, and it was faster until the teeth got buried, and then it would fill up the chips so fast until it quit being faster. But it's a neat little plug that it cut out of there, isn't it? Okay, now then, I don't need this thing this large a diameter, so I'm going to cut it out here, remove a little ring from the middle. That's going to be my my actual piece. I'll be back. This is one Harbor Freight tool that I can't find any kind of a problem with. As you'll see, you can screw this on, and then it's got these 4 holes in the back, and instead of the thing latching down and becoming really tight on there, all you got to do is just push these little teeth out. I think you can see them here, and these little teeth stick in those little holes and hold the hole saw, and that way it doesn't jam itself right down tight on this thread here. And I think that's pretty convenient. And the hole saw's cut everything I tried to cut, so I think this was a good Harbor Freight tool. So now I need to increase the edge of this hole, so I've got a little hole that's 2.23 inches in diameter. This guy should be 2 inches here.
At least that's the size of the hole saw. Yeah, he's 2 inches and 4 thousandths. That's pretty good. I'll have a little lip all the way around. I'm going to move the camera so you get a better view. Okay, now then I need to cut out a little hole, 2.3 inches there. So I'm going to come up, line the tool up there, set my collar here on 0, get the numbers on 0, settle this thing down and lock it in place. Alright, let's see if I can come out. Hang on. 0. Alright, that's the real 0. I was just kidding about the other. That's 100 thousandths. Let's compare it. Very close. Alright, so now I've got to cut all the metal out of the middle of it there. Well, not all of it, some of it. I'm going to change tools. Okay, so I'm going to have to plug this thing in because the battery will run down. But I switched back to the lantern tool post because I got high-speed steel bits that are shaped just right for whatever I want to do. And I like it better like that. Alright, so that's about the right size. Little piston will go through the center. And this guy fits pretty good right there. No slopping off of it, so next step I still need to clean up that little face right there. Looks sloppy. So but well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Next step, I'm going to cut this off about here. See if I can just cut a little ring of aluminum out of there. I'll bring you back when I got it set up. This is a little bit chattery, and I'm sure I'll have to experiment with the speed. That's about the size of the piece I want to cut out of there. And regularly snow and aluminum chips. I think I'm a little fast. Alright, so I'm going to have to sort of wallow it back and forth a little bit in sections. I'll bring you back when we get down to some successful spot. Alright, I cut in from the other side about 380 thousandths, and I'm about 80 thousandths deep on this side, so shouldn't be long before I break through. Got a lot of horrible chatter, but I'm going to live with it for now. we go. I knew we were on the edge, so now that I've got this is, if it didn't have this fault right here, this would be a good start on a Tom Lipton scale, huh? Oh well. That's the reason I got it, because it had a big hole cut in it to cut it out of another piece. Scrap, you know. Oh well. Now then I'll clean off this edge here so it looks kind of nice, and we'll be done with this piece. I'll bring you back later. I'll bet you thought I'd forget to face this off. We got soft jaws there provided by Mr. DigiConso nearly a year ago. Nice. I think I'll give it just a little spring cut. That'll knock it all off for today. Alright, we're back for another day of fun and games, or at least for a little bit. And taking this little guy here. Looks to be about 5.74 on the outside. Let's see how far it is on the inside. Well, that's going to take some more setup. Let's see here. We'll subtract this from it. Or subtract it from this. Whatever's the right way to say it. It's got a burr on it. Let me find something better and I'll be back. That deburred. So let's see here. Got and that's 5.514. So, well, there's a fairly good thick amount of metal at the bottom. So, I guess that'd be about 1/8 of an inch. So, I'll make a fitting to go in here, and yeah, I think that's the best way, because then I can have variable size holes depending on how big I finally figure out I need. So that's what we'll do. We'll make a fitting. I discovered something about my cyclone separator, and that is that when the hose plugs up, it will suck in the sides of that bucket. So I'm gonna have to get a little ring of plywood or metal or something to go on the inside of it. It might be a little ring of metal with, I don't know, we'll work on that later, but I do have to work on it, obviously. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a small hole here, and I'm going to put a 1/2 by 13 thread hole in it, so that I can screw a little fitting in there with a hole. And if the fitting has the wrong size hole, I can make another fitting with a bigger hole, or increase the size of that hole, or if it starts out with too large a hole, I can make another fitting with a smaller hole. You get the idea. I'll be back in a minute. I make a lot of 1/2 13 threads because that's a tap I've got, not necessarily because it's my favorite size. Let's see if I can slow this machine down some. Probably not as good as if I'd put it in back gear, but there's more work involved in that. Well, let's see. That was easy enough. We've got a full thread, so, well, 75% thread. Yeah, that looks pretty good. A little deburring, and we're in business, so I'll set up to make the fitting go in there, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I wish I knew what this thing started out life with the intention of being. I got it in an estate sale, and it looked pretty handy. It was 2.5, and so I thought, well, even if it's not good for anything else, I can melt it down in a foundry. But it turned out all right anyway. I think a better strategy would be for me to single point this thread, and when this thing's in back gear, it makes a lot of noise. So I know somebody's going to comment about, what, that noisy old lathe. Well, I haven't probably run it a half hour, an hour in back gear since it was brand new. So I'm sure the back gears aren't worn out. It's just the nature of the beast. You have to live with it. Well, come on. I'll be back. Sometimes it's hard to shift it into back gear. Alright, here we are in back gear, and it's going to be rattly, and that's just the way it is. Get my thread gauge. Make sure I've got 13 picked out for the checking. Alright, so try to engage the threading dial. Okay. Let's check it. Yeah, that lines up. So good, it's set right. Everything except for the cross feed. And my air leaked down. All right. There's my cylinder. There it is. And it screws on, so it must be good. Okay, so I'm just going to dress the thing up. I'm going to cut it down a little bit shorter, and I'll be back. I got the smart idea that while I was at it, I should drill a little 1/8" hole in there, which I hope is the right size, before I start cutting it off, and then I'll be through when I cut it off. I already got a center drilled in it. I'm going to cut that part off that's got the hole. So that's hot. My hole didn't go all the way through. That'll work. Lots of excitement there while the camera was off. I started to vacuum things up, and my die was laying in the chip pan, and I vacuumed that sucker right up into the bucket. It was easier to get it out of the bucket than to get it out of a paper bag, but oh well. Alright, so there's the, I guess you can see that. That's the piece I just made. If it's out of focus, Pierre Baudry says blow on the screen and it'll clear it up. But I've got a little angle here, and I'm going to screw this in the bottom of the cylinder, and this will set on top of my mold, and I can mold on top of my mold, and I can inject plastic into it. Of course, I've still got to make the mold, so I'm going to go round up some of that, or well, it's past 8 p.m. I'm going to call it a night.